The Teal Mask DLC for Pokémon Scarlet and Violet has been out for some time now, and I think it's pretty good. There's a light story backdrop that ties into the region and its inhabitants. There's a good returning cast of Pokemon, around 100, that are newly obtainable. I feel like Johto and Hoenn players in specific had a good time with some of the new options, and it's nice to see these Pokemon return with refreshed models or textures. Visually, the DLC is complicated. It technically looks better than the base game to me. The town in Masui is well made. Compare this settlement with the first town you'll likely to see in Paldea, and it's night and day. The village actually looks lived in. There's building variety, more assets involved with gardens, sheds, homes have utility models like water heaters and AC units. There's consideration to how the town handled drainage. Even the little shop looks good. It feels homey and well thought out. The DLC benefits generally from a limited scope compared to the main game, so more attention to detail could be paid to the environments. This means things end up looking better overall and more well thought out. On the other hand, I think a lot of this also attributed to what I experienced as worse performance than the main game. Both in busy areas and just out in the environment, the DLC performed worse for me than the base game, sometimes by a very big margin. And there's a good chance that part of that is due to all the extra models and rendered objects that help make Kitakami feel a little bit more alive. It could be seen as a fair trade-off when it's not being completely brutal, but I really can't wait to see this problem hopefully improved with better hardware in the future. The level scaling is a nice touch in that players who haven't finished the game can still participate, and I did notice some level of skill increase required in the battles as the story progressed, but the level scaling gate might be a little too simple, since I think it either brackets your levels at the 10 to 20s or 60 to 70s. For me, having completed the entire base game, levels started in the 60s and ended up in the mid to high 70s. The issue I ran into was creating a balanced team. Anytime I only tried to use Pokemon I caught in Kitakami, I got destroyed. Whenever I added in too many Pokemon from the main game that I already had, I'd be too powerful. It took me a little too long to find a balanced team that provided a good challenge without making it too easy. All of the legendary and boss style battles were visually cool, if a little gimmicky. The more fun battles for me came from the Kitakami Ogre Clan battles. These trainers actually provided a challenge. I mean, look at this guy. He is waiting for you on this cliff face. You know it's going to be good. There are 8 of these trainers total, and not only are their Pokemon level 75 minimum, they also have type specialties and use competitive style tactics. They're like a micro gym badge system for the DLC, and you get rewards for defeating them by talking to a man near the Kitakami Hall fly marker. If you beat all 8 of these pseudo gym leaders, you get yourself a coveted ability patch, which is really nice. And there are smaller rewards for each one that you defeat. It's little post-game story engagements or quests like this that definitely help bump my enjoyment of the DLC up. This, along with Perrin's side quest that has you catching 150 Kitakami Pokédex Pokemon to get a Blood Moon Ursaluna and a Hisuian Growlithe, actually help provide a little more playtime to the DLC while you wait for Part 2. The story is not long, which also prevents it from overstaying its welcome too much. It's not the best. Now, I think that's okay because clearly we're setting up a few things to add to the drama and conflict in the second part of the DLC pass, the Indigo Disc. Quick spoiler warning now if you haven't finished the story. Are we the bad guy? We know it's a Pokemon trope that the player has the opportunity to catch the legendary and all that, and that they're kind of the chosen one, but the plot was just overall kind of depressing. The 2 main active characters introduced are either angry, annoyed, or sad all of the time. Carmine sort of softens up by the end, but Kieran, I'm not so sure. This was either the setup for his villain arc in part 2, or more hopefully, this was the inciting moment for his shonen anime style character training arc, and Kieren returns with confident brushback hair, ready to be the pumped up rival. The whole game, Kieren just keeps getting lied to, left behind, or generally ignored. I really thought that Ogerpon would somehow resonate with Kieren, both feeling wronged or left out, and that they would become good friends, but they don't, and things end on a sort of sour note between you two. There were multiple times where I was thinking, okay, nice, things are going to start looking up for Kieren, and then they just don't. In retrospect now, I understand that this was really to set up what comes next, so it may pay off and have been a good move, we'll just have to wait and see. As with the legendaries, I actually think it's cool to see legendary or mythical Pokemon like the Loyal 3 who are actually not good. There is this sense of positive moral obligation to a lot of the legendaries that's just flipped upside down with these 3. They're essentially ancient thief zombie Pokemon, and it's not like they're misunderstood or they turn a new leaf. No, they just try to basically gang up on Ogerpon and beat them to death out of revenge. And then if you want to, you can find them later on and catch them, and I guess you can sort of headcanon your way into making them nice now. Okidogi is my favorite, probably since I love fighting types, and he does say Gorific. Now, part 2 of the DLC pass is really where I think most of the content lies. It contains the Blueberry Academy, which seems to be oriented toward very competitive students, so we can likely expect a good amount of challenging battles. It has that wild area component with the different biomes to catch some more returning Pokemon, including the whole starter Pokemon set. Shiny Hunters are about to have a lot of fun. And it will close out the Paldea story and ideally solve the mysteries of terastallization. We have the conclusion or extension of Carmine and Kieran's story, along with everything related to Area Zero and Briar's mission to find Terapagos, all wrapped up in this basically private battling school in Unova region. Yeah, it's looking like it will be much more involved than the Teal Mask. The Teal Mask ultimately feels like a little bit of bonus padding and a prologue for things to come. For that given purpose, I think it did pretty well.